everyone, and today we'll be starting with Biology Chapter 5, the fundamental unit of life. Biology is itself very interesting, and this chapter is base of all the chapters in biology. So listen it carefully and try to understand it. Biology is also my favorite subject. So without any delay, let's start. I know you have learned a few things about biology and cell in 8th, but this time we'll start as if you don't know anything about biology. So just remember that cell is the basic and fundamental unit of life. That means all the living organisms are made up of cells. Cells together make up tissues, tissues together make up organs, and organs together join make up a human body or a plant body. So just like our body has different organs and different body parts to perform different functions, in the same way cell also has its own parts that are called organelles. They divide the work among themselves on the basis of their structure and help the cell to do all the necessary functions. Some of these are nucleus, cytoplasm, mitochondria, and you might have heard their names earlier. So before going deep into this topic, we will see just like an introduction, or we'll see who discovered what in this branch of cells. Robert Hooke first observed cells on cork, and they were dead cells, in the year 1665. Anton Leeuwenhoek first observed cells in pond water in 1674. Robert Brown discovered nucleus of the cell in 1831. Purkinje discovered protoplasm in 1839. Schwann and Sheldon proposed the cell theory in 1838. Rudolf Virchow in 1855 said that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Now, based on number of cells, organisms are divided into two, unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular organisms means that an organism which is made up of one single cell, which clearly means that his body is made up of one single cell. And multicellular organisms are the organisms whose body is made up of many type of cells, many kind of cells. Few examples for unicellular animals are like amoeba, chlamydomonas, etc. And for multicellular, they are plants and animals, as you know. So now what do you think? The size of cells is big in elephant than in rats? No, it's not like that. The shape and sizes of the cells are related to the functions they perform. Now there is one more topic before going to the topic of cell organelles, of diffusion and osmosis. So you know what is diffusion, right? The gases move from higher concentration level to lower concentration level in and out of a surface, and this process is called diffusion. In the same way, when water moves from a higher concentration level to a lower concentration level, it is called osmosis. This process of diffusion and osmosis keeps on happening in and out of cell. So now many times we get a question that what will happen to a plant cell or what will happen to an animal cell if it is kept in this particular type of solution. So now we'll be studying about that. So basically there are three different types of solution: hypotonic solutions, isotonic solution, and hypertonic solutions. Now if the medium surrounding the cell has higher water concentration than the cell, then the cell will gain water by osmosis. That means cell will swell up. So this type of solution is called hypotonic solution. Now if the medium and the cell has same water concentration, then the water will go in also, it will come out also, like the net water will be same, will remain same. So that type of solutions are called isotonic solutions, and in that case the cell will remain of the same size. There will be no change in the size of cell. After that, if the medium has lower concentration of water than the cell, that means the cell has higher and the medium has lower, then the cell will lose water by osmosis, and such type of solution is called hypertonic solution. And in this, more water leaves the cell, that's why the cell will shrink. These processes are same in animal cell and plant cell, but there is a specific term when the plant cell is kept in a hypertonic solution, that when the plant cell shrinks away from cell wall, that means the protoplasm of the cell shrinks, then in that case it is called plasmolysis. I will tell you about this when you learn about plasma membrane, cell wall and all again, to understand it better. And now finally we'll begin with different types of cell organelles, and now we'll start with plasma membrane or the cell membrane. So this is the outermost covering which allows entry and exit of some selected items or selected materials in and out of cell. And this is why it is called a selectively permeable membrane. Why is it called a selectively permeable membrane? Because it allows entry and exit of only such selected items or selected materials from in and out of the cell. This plasma membrane is very flexible and it is made up of proteins and fats or proteins and lipids. Both the processes of diffusion and osmosis occurs through the plasma membrane itself. That means when the water goes in and it goes out, that we say from the plasma membrane. So now let's move on to cell wall. It is a rigid layer made up of cellulose outside the plasma membrane and it is present only in plant cell. When the plant cell is kept in a hypertonic solution, plasmolysis happens. That means in the medium surrounding the cell has lower concentration and the cell itself has higher concentration level. In that case, the water moves from inside the cell to outside the cell. This causes shrinkage of cell. And this shrinkage of the contents of the cell away from its cell wall is called as plasmolysis. Because of cell wall present in plants, the cells of plants can live in harder environment than compared to the animal cell. Now let's learn about nucleus. This nucleus is covered with a nuclear membrane which is porous and allows exchange of substances in and out of nucleus. Then this nucleus also has a pair of chromosomes which contain DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid. Nucleus plays a major role in cellular reproduction. Based on the structure, the cells are divided into prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. The size of prokaryotic cells is from 1 to 10 nanometer, whereas the size of eukaryotic cell is from 5 to 100 nanometer. Nuclear region is absent in prokaryotic cell, whereas it is present in the other one. Nuclear region is poorly defined as nucleoid in prokaryotic cell, but whereas in eukaryotic cell it is well defined with a nuclear membrane, few pairs of chromosome and DNA in it. In prokaryotic cells, there is no nuclear membrane. In eukaryotic cell, there is a nuclear membrane. In prokaryotic cells, they have single chromosomes, but in eukaryotic cells, they have more than 2 pairs of chromosomes. In prokaryotic cells, cell organelles are absent. Not all, but many of the cell organelles are absent. But whereas in eukaryotic cell, all the cell organelles are present. Example for prokaryotic cell is bacteria. An example for eukaryotic cells are human cells or plant cells. Now let's learn more about different types of cell organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi Apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, vacuoles, and plastids. Let's begin with endoplasmic reticulum, that is ER. This endoplasmic reticulum is classified into two, SER, that is smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and RER, that is rough endoplasmic reticulum. So endoplasmic reticulum is a large network of membrane-bound tubes and vesicles. The rough endoplasmic reticulum manufactures proteins and ribosomes are attached to it, because of which we call it rough endoplasmic reticulum. SCR, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, is manufacturer of fats. They toxify many drugs. They also provide space for many biochemical activities that happen in the cell. Now let's learn about Golgi Apparatus. Golgi Apparatus is the system of membrane-bound vesicles arranged parallelly in stacks called cisterns. You can refer the picture to understand and get it in a better way. These Golgi Apparatus act as packaging and transporting department in a cell. Formation of lysosomes also take place over here. Golgi apparatus also convert simple sugar into complex sugars and they break down complex sugars into simple sugars. Now let's learn about lysosomes. Lysosomes are the waste disposal system in the cell. They have very powerful enzymes which is made by rough endoplasmic reticulum. In some condition, if the cell gets damaged, this may be because of cellular metabolism disturbances, and in this case, the powerful enzymes of the lysosome can digest the cell itself, because of which lysosomes are also called as suicide bags of the cell. These many activities take place in the cell, but from where do they get energy? So here is our next cell organelle, that is mitochondria. This is the powerhouse of the cell. It has two membranes, inner membrane and the outer membrane. Outer membrane is porous, whereas the inner membrane is deeply folded in order to increase the area for chemical reactions that generate the energy. They give out the energy in the form of ATP, that means adenosine triphosphate, And then this energy is distributed equally among all the cell organelles in order to perform different activities. Mitochondria and plastids are strange organelles because they have their own DNA and their own ribosomes. So now what is plastids, or what are plastids? So let's learn about them first. Unlike the cell wall, plastids are only present in plant cells. They are of two types, chromoplast and leucoplast. Chromoplasts give colors to the flowers and fruits of the plants. There is also another type of plastid present in the chromoplast, that is chloroplast, and this plastid has chlorophyll present in them, which plays a very important role for food making in plants. Then the leucoplast type of plastids are white, that means they're plain in color, and they generally store oil, starch and granules. Now we'll learn about vacuoles. As you know, vacuoles are big in plant cell. They acquire 50 to 80% of the space, whereas they are very small in animal cell. And vacuoles are big in plant cells in order to give it more stiffness and more rigidity. Vacuoles are the storage of water, oils, starch and other plain materials. And then finally we come to the last topic of this chapter. We have two types of reproduction here, and we'll be just studying them both in very brief. So the first one is mitosis. In this, one cell gives rise to two identical daughter cells which have same number of chromosomes as the mother cell, and this type of reproduction, that is mitosis type of reproduction, takes place generally when there is repair of tissues. Then the second type of reproduction we have as meiosis. In this, one cell gives rise to four daughter cells. Now each daughter cell have half the number of chromosomes as the mother cell. This takes place in cellular reproduction. Now with this we come to an end of our chapter 5 in biology. I hope you understood all the concepts really well. So bye, and we'll meet you with our next chapter in our next video. Thank you.